Hello everybody and welcome to the first tutorial here on Shark Beatbox. Today we're going to be learning about how to do the human throat bass. Now some tips and tricks here that I'm going to go ahead and read through and give you guys some advice on how to actually start to make this sound if you don't know how to, or how to perfect it if you already know. So just a quick disclaimer, this is safe. So what you're doing essentially is you have your vocal cords, which is what I'm using right now. They're quite flexible and can move around to create sound. But what we're doing with throat bass is you're vibrating your faux vocal cords, which are hard vocal cords next to your vocal cords, and you're trying to vibrate those. And so it can be kind of difficult, can require energy. But this is completely safe. Follow all the recommendations that I give you throughout this, and it's completely safe. Obviously, just like anything else, like singing, if you sing too much, sing too high or loud for too long, it can be damaging. So make sure you just follow these tips and just be safe with it. All right, so some three preliminary cautionary tips. The first being, don't overdo it and drink plenty of water, take breaks. And if you start to feel like a tickle or it start to hurt, stop and then continue next day when it starts to feel a little bit better. Number two, this will take a while. So don't think you're gonna get it all in one go. And it could take weeks or months to really get down into the nitty-gritty, nice, deep sound that you're looking for. So that brings us to number three, be patient. Don't give up, keep going, but do have some patience as you're going through this. So here we go. Let's get right into it. These are the 10 steps that I've identified myself to help you understand how to start to make this sound on your own. So number one, make the sound of yourself like clearing your throat, like I just barely did. Now do this a couple of times and focus on the rumblings in your voice. Start to hear like sort of like a car engine starting to try and turn over, trying to start. So keep doing that with me. All right, now step two, while focusing on those rumblings, try and make an extended clearing of the throat noise. So go, and if you have to keep like repeatedly doing it, like you can do that to start. Try and make it an extended noise, like might sound like you're trying to cough or something like that. So try and keep that note. Try and hold that. That's step two. Now once you're there, we're move on to step three. Try and match my sound, okay? All right, that's probably enough of you staring at me doing that. But once you can try and get that sort of voice, it should feel a little bit raspy. Don't worry, don't stress about this tickling feeling yet. But this, as we're starting to get this sound, be cautious of this feeling and stop when it gets a little too much. We're like, ooh, no. Right when you hit that, like, I probably shouldn't, then stop for the day and continue on. And you might have to do that a couple of times before getting through this whole video. So don't be stressing about how slow it might be, because you want it to be safe, you want it to be perfect, you want it to work, and you don't want to hurt yourself. You don't want to develop polyps or anything like that. Awesome. So moving on to step number four. So try and put a little bit more air behind the sound. So you have this. Notice how it's airy and not like whoa, like we want, right? So try and put a little bit more air behind it. So take a deep breath inwards and fill your lungs, which are typically in the stomach area, fill those with air, and then with your stomach muscles, push the air out as if you were singing in that same sound. So let's get that sound back. So it might sound a little ridiculous, like it did with me just barely. And it might start making you want to have a tickling sound a little bit. It is for me a little bit actually right now too, because I'm not quite doing the sound that I want yet. So we already kind of are doing this, but if you weren't before, this is step 5, turn it into a hum. So kind of like HM, that kind of sound, like hum, but make that like a lot more sound with that breath extended from your stomach, okay? and trying to feel it down here. We're getting it in the throat first, and then we'll move it to where it'll actually have some good volume in the nasal cavity. Okay, so once you have that, once you've got the humming sound down, and you're starting to try and match my sound, let's move on to step number 6. And like I said, if this is hurting at all, stop the video now and come back tomorrow. And if it keeps hurting, just keep coming back the next day, and I promise you it'll get better. Okay, don't want to hurt yourself, but there are some, it's kind of like calluses on your fingers. You build up resistance and ability to do it. It's proven also that this is not harmful for the voice. A TED talk by Tom Thumb talks about this very same thing. They had a camera go down his throat, check it out. Everything was completely fine while he was doing the noises and such. So completely safe. Don't worry about it. But do worry about it if you are going way too overboard. Do not do that. Okay, it can have some harmful effects. So just be careful. Okay, number 6. So we want to make that sound rich. We want to turn that right into that nice, rich, deep sound that we like to hear. And this is coming from the nose. I don't know if you saw me kind of go like that. So when you sing, a lot of teachers and choir professors, they talk about how you want to sing in the nasal cavity because it projects more and gives you more volume, and creates a oneness to the sound. And this is the same technique we're going to use. So if you have any choir experience, this will help you. But I'm going to walk you through it if you haven't. Okay, so don't worry if you don't. So number 6, make it sound as if you're like stifling a laugh. What that means is like somebody trips and you like start to laugh. You're like, ooh, that's mean. So you're like that. You're like that kind of thing. Or if you can kind of think about it as like blowing your nose, like that kind of noise. Kind of feels like it's in the back of your nose, if that makes sense. So that's step number 6. Try and make that noise. Kind of like a horse, I guess you could say. Now, number 7, keep doing that, but pay attention to the location of the vibration, like I was talking about, in the back of the nose. So this is where you should focus your attention, is that location. That kind of thing, right in the back, okay? Now, step 8, what we're going to do is once we've found that location, it's kind of right in that nasal cavity, just like right at the end of the nose. Like if you were to have a COVID test, for example, and it goes all the way back in your nose, at the end, that's where you want the noise to happen, okay? So now we're going to take what we learned before with the first noise and combine it together with that second part, okay? So we're going to have the first noise with clearing your throat. More air. Okay, it's down in the throat, which is not where we want it to be, really. We want that noise to travel up into that location we identified before, okay? So, I don't know if you caught this, but it helps me kind of like lift my, smile a bit, and to think about air coming through my nose when I do this, which obviously it is, but think more about it and try and get it right in that sweet spot in the nasal cavity. So you have so that's redoing those first 5 steps and then locating it back into the 6th, 7th step where we get it in the nasal cavity. Okay, so that's step 8. Now step 9. Now let's make that sound, like I was saying, this is kind of where we try and move it up. I want to focus on a little bit something. When I was doing it, it kind of can help to raise your pitch a little bit. Now I started at a little bit of a lower note, and raising my pitch helped me think about raising the location of that vibration into here, into my nasal cavity. So that's step 9, trying to make the location right in here. And you should get to the point where your brain feels like it's kind of shaking a bit. Not anything too bad, but just kind of. If you were to put your teeth closer together, they kind of go chatter together. A little bit, okay? So that's step number 9. Now step number 10, you have it. That's it. So the recommendation and the advice here is to try and lock that in. What this preliminary process will look like, how you start off, is your brain is going to try and remember where that location is. It's like a muscle memory. Whenever you're singing or throwing a baseball, for example, your arm gets into a motion that it knows, and your brain knows that you can throw it to that location without any problem. But that comes through repetition, through practice. And the first time you do it, you have to really think about where you're throwing and how your arm is moving. It's the same thing for this. You're teaching your brain to put the noise in that location, just behind the nose, in that nasal cavity pocket, okay? So that's it. Now, once we've done these 10 steps, the last 3 steps I want to focus on are tips for getting it solid, for actually progressing with this sound. Because right now, it probably hurts a little bit. It probably has a little bit of a weakness to it. It doesn't sound like mine. And that's because like I said, you have to do it every single day. So tip number 1, every day, get that sound back down to just hold a singular note for as long as you can in a single breath. Take a breath and keep doing that. Keep holding that same note. Because if you try and start switching notes right now, it's going to be a little bit hard for your brain to realize, oh, that's the location. It wants to find the location first, and then you can toy around with different notes, okay? So we're focusing on one note, holding it as long as we can. That's the first step to making it solid every single day. Keep doing that until it starts to tickle, starts to hurt just a tad. Stop for that day. Come back for the next one. It might be a little bit frustrating, but trust me, every day making a small and simple effort will make a big difference. So that's the first step. Number 2, repeat this process until you start to hear that depth and the power of the throat bass. It should start to be obvious to you, and you should start to realize this. And people around you will change from you sound like you're growling, like stop, please, to wow, that sounds super cool. Like I can tell that's like something different than just messing around, And step 3, drink plenty of water, like I said in the beginning, throughout this entire process. Think of yourself as an engine that needs to be well oiled. Water is honestly a beatboxer's best friend. I drink a lot of it because it helps it stay lubricated and keeps it safe. So don't forget about that. And if you can't get this right now, just let me know in the comments, and I'll work on making another video to try and explain it a little bit better, or maybe talk to you one-on-one if I can. But just let me know in the comments how it's going. I can give some advice. And make sure that you subscribe if you haven't already. And if it's your first time subscribing, go ahead and click subscribe, and then in the comments below, let me know that you've subscribed. And then I'll try and reach out to you personally. So yeah, thank you. Another aside, sometimes when you start to do this, you might fall into the throat bass that isn't quite the rich throat bass that I'm using, which kind of sounds like this. So this happens a lot in the throat. It does come through the nose, but it's really just happening here, and then air is just coming through the nose. It's not really like focused up here. So if you have this problem, go. If you hear this sound, kind of think about like yourself vomiting a little bit. It kind of feels like that, like might also sound like that, like that kind of thing. So if the noise does sound like that, try moving it up and having like a vomiting sensation almost of moving up the throat into the nasal cavity. Okay, but thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.